we can start, I guess. We've been remiss in not using the official starting for our meeting for the pledge to the flag, so. If he, Brother Al, we
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Put on the agenda the CCA question, where are we with this? I mean, we've all seen the recent collapse of the CCA in Canandaigua in the city, so I don't have anything more to add to it, put on there more of the placeholder than anything, but I don't know if Doug or if you, Sarah, or Rhonda has anything.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, definitely. So I just spoke with Sarah yesterday and no RFPs had come in yet. Today is the deadline this afternoon. And so I had sent reminders of that deadline out to some direct solicitation. And also we do have a kind of a collaborative conversation on Monday scheduled with John Goodwin from the city. And so we're excited about hearing some lessons learned there, but just for this group's benefit, John's initial conversation or verbiage to us was, it was a great program. He, of course, is disappointed about how the current state of it is, but is looking forward to re-engaging in this process. They've saved lots of money. The residents have saved lots of money. So it's kind of just seeing what would be best as we're moving forward in this RFP process to ask certain questions about the third-party administrator and how they would be working with energy companies to make sure that we're not at the same outcome that the city was. So that's on Monday. So on our next committee meeting, we'll be able to have some updates, and I'll work with Sarah and Terry and Doug prior to that to see where we're headed.
Okay, well, how many people or how many entities did you send it out to? What?
So it was on Contractor Reporter, so anyone could have pulled it down, but for the direct solicitation, we use the 4 companies that are already within the region that folks were using, and that was the kind of the tip from the state agency of those folks they knew were working with other communities close to us. And again, this is for the third-party administrator, not for that end energy company, and that end piece is what kind of went awry in the city, not necessarily their work with the third-party administrator.
Is there any way to arrange it so you don't have all your fish in one barrel, you know, like your stock portfolio, you don't put all your money in one stock? Is there any way to kind of arrange it so you got multiple entities that you're working with?
I think that's a great question, and that's something that we can ask of the third-party administrator. Also, we can ask John on Monday to see if any of those opportunities were explored when they were through their process. We'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, a contract reporter is a system that basically all municipalities in the state of New York use. It's called New York Contract Reporter. And what happens is any of the contracts that come up or any RFPs and stuff, you post those. And so there's any oodles and oodles of companies and entities that get notified, and those go up. And so, like, for instance, I get an email literally every single day. Here's the top 5 RFPs. And so you're constantly getting those notifications and stuff. So we're listed on there.
So it wasn't just the city of Canandaigua, right? It's Victor, a bunch of other communities, was it? All
Yeah, there were 3 or 4, I think, right, Rhonda, that were.
Yes, correct.
About what happened.
Yeah. So essentially, the company that was providing the service stopped providing the service. And so everybody's rate. Kilowatt cents an hour. Getting a lot of, Sarah, can you
what? I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
we're getting a lot of noise. I don't know where it was coming from. So the kilowatt hour doubled when the company stopped providing the service, essentially. So because it went back to the standard NICEAG rate or RG.
Just no notification, like ahead of time, like,
It
hey,
was
we're.
within 30 days. It was very,
Also
very
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
Well,
That's brutal.
whoever that entity was, it defaults in that payment start fee, so that's why RG&E just dropped the hammer on it, so. But that power was coming from RG&E. then.
Correct, yeah.
But it's a
This
lower
entity
rate,
was the supplier, right?
it's still.
Right, exactly. It's a shell game.
Sell for 8 cents a kilowatt hour or give it to you at 4.
Right.
Went
Yes,
out of business because they priced it too low.
and this wasn't the third party, this was the.
Fourth party?
Fourth party. Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, keep looking at it, but we need to look at ways to maybe protect our interests a little
Yeah.
better.
Well, don't choose that business.
For that method.
We just have a different contract, so we can't exit it so easily.
Right.
So quickly.
Well, I think that entity completely defaulted.
Yeah.
They disappear.
All bets off.
Or anything else in CCA or?
I think that's good.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that today's the deadline. Rhonda mentioned that already. And as of right now, I don't have any proposals, but as we know with projects like these, sometimes you get everything at the end. So we'll let you know what we find out. But, and then hopefully get those questions answered on Monday. But that's all I had.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Okay, let's move on to ACP,
Okay,
pipe testing. Then you heard from,
I've heard from Electroscan and we received some estimates on daily cost. I'll start with them first. Their daily fee is around 20,000 a day, to scan around 1,000 feet of pipe to come in and do that. Plus there's $5,000 to write the report and give us a video of the data that they provide.
how much was it?
20,000 a day
Per day.
per day.
That's not, I mean, I think they told us when they were here, it was like around 25 grand a day, so.
Yeah, that seems,
Well, I know sounds high, but at this point, this is the only thing, other than pulling a piece of pipe out of the ground, replace it and send it to a lab to have it done deconstructively to come up with a way to determine what condition our existing ACP pipe is in.
Well, when she got back to you, Jim, she was in here and made that presentation, which was great. I mean, the thing looked good. It had, could give you everything you need to know about the pipe, but then it was, what, a month or 2 months between the time she was here.
Right.
She have any reason for that? Why?
They're busy. They're busy.
Are they busy making presentations, or did you say they're busy actually doing inspections?
Doing inspections, they do a lot of it out west,
Yeah,
okay, because they're very, very critical about their water loss. So they're doing a lot of scanning in out, say, I'll call it Colorado, Utah, Nevada, Arizona area.
place where there's a drought.
Right.
so how many feet ACP pipe?
We have like 50 miles.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do all 50, but if we can get a baseline started, so then we can go and apply for
100 grand.
grant money, say, hey, we did this study. Here's the data we use to go with getting it to be like, here's got to be
I missed
replaced.
this presentation, but how many, what did they think they could do in a day's time? That's all.
About 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet.
Yeah, but I mean.
And you're gonna pick.
But Jim's not gonna, I mean, he's right, I mean, you're not gonna do all of it.
No,
You're gonna pick some spots and then use
Suspicious.
that as a baseline for making decisions on other parts that are, you know, similar age, similar soil and installation, you know.
264,000 feet.
But it is a starting point though, because I think probably the next thing that we would be looking at doing is probably doing some type of PER and putting together something for a large water main replacement project on the ACP. Yeah, right, to target in with the,
No,
we,
and,
yeah.
And there is also, I had a conversation with Claudia Tenney, who's in Congress now, could be our next rep. Asking about infrastructure money, because she sits where they can give us money.
Right.
So, and they want to give it to, she's like, we want to get it. So there's, but, you know, there's quite a bit of federal.
you know, I have spoken with Kendall from the Department of Health, and he encourages us to do this. He has some more questions, he wants some more information, but he goes, he goes, I support this and doing this for trying to find out what type of condition the pipe is, because it's just not our community. There's lots of municipalities that have AC pipe, and he goes, if this goes through, he wants to encourage others to come visit and get the data, you know, understand what we're doing, so they can start looking at their pipe also.
So if she was talking about 3-day.
We're looking at 3
3-day,
days.
then, you know,
3 days.
3-day.
So
So
you're
maybe
probably
that's
looking at
$3,000.
$70,000 to $80,000 to get 3 days worth of
Are
work.
there any other? So for those 3,000 feet, is there enough to, you have some spots picked out?
What I'd like to look at would be the Cheshire area, because that was some of the first water I put in. I want to look down by Terry's area, because that soil is hotter. So the actual outside of the AC pipe is, I'll call it like punky, like wood, it's soft. And then I'd like to look at a section of Cooling Road, because everything on 5 and 20, Cooling and Hickox is all ACP pipe. So, give us 3 areas and to visit, like.
Is that all consent, candidate consolidated?
Yep.
Should we maybe have something that's in Kennedy Farmington as well?
That would be that a discussion with Farmington, because they would have to go along with paying for it.
But they don't, I don't think they have a lot of AC.
They have a lot of
It's mostly cast iron.
Okay,
They have a podcast, but we don't. So that is something that we can put in the budget for next year to see where it.
What's this latest thing from the state? Which was 250 million.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it's all.
that could be-
Yep.
if you did every
Go
inch of
after
it,
that.
that's $5.3 million.
Yeah.
I can see doing a baseline, but
Yeah.
that price has jumped up quite a bit from when we talked about it, so that seems. 20K for 1,000 feet, so it doesn't sound like we want to do a long-term program, but I could
Oh,
see
no, but-
establish some baseline.
If we
Well,
can
just
just,
looking at those areas, the pack and acidic soil with, you know, that gives us an indication that there's problems and.
Well,
Those
the other-
areas to attack first.
Part 2 is to try it and, you know, see what you're gonna get out of it, and then if it becomes worthwhile, maybe you program it in to check other sections, you know, in these small 2-day, 3-day, whatever, and just kind of continue to build your information.
It just come
Well, you
out
need
of the,
something to kind of start for, you know, the base, otherwise we're just kind of shooting blind. It would be like trying to do like an I&I project without actually doing a flow study ahead of it. You know, you just pick areas that you think are bad, but you don't know if you're actually gonna catch the problem.
Just come out of the operation and maintenance.
Can't they were consolidated?
Yeah.
I consider a
I
capital
mean, it wouldn't be
project.
fair to lay the cost off on the whole town, so.
No,
Well, it's not a capital project because it's not a piece of equipment that's being purchased or installed, so it's a contractual obligation, so. You'd be trying to do it in 22 or 23,
probably 23 now, unless we.
so it's
decide
just a
to-
budget item, so.
Right, 'cause I have not discussed like what their schedule for electricity are, we just been discussing back and forth and getting the DOH on board to have a cost and if they're willing to move forward with us when they are, so.
Is it
Yeah.
seasonal, like you can't do it in the winter?
No, you could, I think it probably, I don't know about cold weather, but
Yeah.
you know, November would probably be okay, I'm gonna be out there trying to run a fiber optic line
Or
in
snow?
freezing weather and snow, so.
Now, timeline would be critical to get them in sooner than necessarily later, right? Because if you wait to do it in 23, then realistically, you're not gonna have the PER and everything ready for that year's funding cycle to be in 24.
Even if it took them 60 days to give you a quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may be 23 anyway, so
So
That's the big question. is-
So I'll ask the question of electroscan and see what they say about timing.
I think it's something that we have an interest in, but. So they all said not all 50 miles. We would look at those areas that
But
would
if you-
feel.
No, but if you did like 2 days,
You know,
if you know,
potential
that's what we
problem.
could do still this year, let's just say
Yeah.
we do a budget amendment. To get you an idea of what your pipe looks like.
And it's
2 days.
just an assessment, right? It's not a rehab. It doesn't do the rehab.
No, this is just
Okay.
an assessment of the pipe.
So it's $20 a foot to,
Either,
To do an assessment.
so there's a lot of, yeah, but, you know,
She's having to take
it's
the-
not necessarily, you know, yeah, everything has to be
Less intrusive.
stayed, well, way less intrusive,
Yeah.
because, you know, if you pull a piece of pipe out, let's say someplace, and, oh, it's good, but what if down the road 500 feet, it's bad, you just have no idea.
Yeah.
So.
We'll do a chunk and see how things
Yeah.
go, see how it turns out, and then also the market, you know, more people may get in.
Well, Terry mentioned, he said maybe we can get them to come here and give us a little better price if we have other municipalities that are interested. in
Like
visiting
people in
us. So try and come up with a, you know, a lower cost if we had other municipalities show up and take an interest in it, so,
In 3 days, we'll pay for 2,
right, I mean,
something like that, that
I don't know, maybe the county, they got a lot of HCP for sewer, might be interested in learning about this, so. But, that's where we're at with it, that's what we got for cost, the DOH is on board. That's part of the way it's said.
anything else on this one? About the County Road 28 tour meeting. We have to move the meeting from the 13th to the 20th. Some other activities on the 13th that we need to tend to, so. You said you were free on the 20th, Greg, to stand up there and take all the swings and arrows on Regis Fortune. This is what you'd be talking about.
Yes, yeah, I mean, as, you know, obviously as a draft and get it out to you guys, so you guys kind of take a look at it and then make any edits or additions or subtractions. One of the things that would go along with this that I think Jim was able to print out was the actual district boundary map with sewer kind of on it. So there'd be an 11 by 17 flyout that would go with this handout.
I can print it, I just didn't print
Okay, no worries. It's not a big deal, but I just want to make sure like that was kind of like the 2 things that would go along with this, but we just kind of summarize the information that we have. You know, going through the financing costs, input impacts, you know, again, we're still targeting an EFC financing package for this. But we only used the market rate. We didn't look at any subsidized rates for this project. Not sure where we necessarily score, but we want to get this in on the IUP relatively soon. As soon as we, the thing that would govern that is getting a report done to submit it to EFC. We talked in part here, so we kind of outlined some of the other impact fees associated with getting the lateral to your house, so people understand that there's a homeowner side cost to this. Did note that we did put the permit fee into the overall project. And then went through some of the next steps that outlines the need to go through a map plan report phase, doing the flow study, the preliminary engineering report, creating the district resolution, and then also coordinating the IMA agreement with the county. Would be kind of the next steps. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when you present this, this is annual yearly cost to the user, correct?
Yeah.
Can you indicate that on the report when you're presenting it, that this is an annual cost for 30 years or whatever it is? There was some confusion during the Cheshire meeting about that.
Also run numbers. I don't know how, I know we talked about putting some ARPA money at it, if that's our whole pot. pretty
That's in
much.
there, yeah. The
Can you
millions in
run
there.
numbers without that? To see if it were not included in there, if we were using it for other things.
Yeah, I mean, we can expand this table to show a cost without our problem.
Okay. Or, yeah, then it could be, people could prorate it in their minds.
So this is it, it'll be an actual handout, right?
Yep.
Got a minor suggestion. Just, you know, something that I had to think twice about, and you don't want to think too much about it. Anyway, under you've got a bullet there, and you say vacant farmland with agricultural exception. And then I just would come down to where you say the estimated cost and put a bullet there and say the estimated cost of sewer between your home and clean out right away is $40 per foot. Your total cost will depend upon, it's just move. You see what I'm saying? Just put that bullet there and get rid of those 2 lines above it. You know, just a suggestion. It's just, I think, a little easier to understand. You see what I'm saying?
Think so.
Taking out what else?
I think you
See how the vacant
Multiple.
farmland,
put this.
No.
Right under the vacant farmland, the cost per.
Just do it like that rather than, you got extra stuff in there that's a little confusing with the asterisk. You know, it's a minor thing, but you see what I'm
So
saying?
kind of get take
Okay.
start.
It's up to
start the
you,
bullet
but
at
it's an
installation,
idea.
something like that, so then you're looking at $40 per foot.
Yeah, just put it
Get
in
rid
a
of some of the other
paragraph.
things,
and,
yeah.
It's just make it simple.
Yeah, so people know that they're looking at $40 a foot to line it up.
Taking off that bullet point in addition.
There you go.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's just a reform.
It's just a minor.
Just use this paragraph down here. Say it's $40 a foot at the end.
You just pass that down.
Yeah.
Sure. Just leave it.
Oh, okay.
to the line.
It's just as simple.
And then the next blurb is about some of the key factors and so like obviously key factors, material costs. The one thing I will say is at least what people are forecasting on oil for 23. I would think that the pipe prices are gonna like drop like rock at that point if they're talking about getting back down to $60. For 23, that would make the pipe prices probably half what it is.
That's what the plan is. Do they know when it's gonna drop? Do
They
have
just
dates figured
forecast,
out?
no, it's not, I don't think it's that, I don't think it's that, serious, but it was just,
I won't get gas till January.
I'll wait.
right. This is
Once
just
we get
some of the
oil back,
long-term
try to get
forecasting.
it over there.
I feel like I have a little bit of an inside track because my brother works for him, so.
All right, okay, good to know.
Oh.
He's one of the villains.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why we keep you around. Now
Dude,
I
listen,
know.
he has a great house, a really
Sure
nice
he
car, and a massive camper.
$5 a gallon, of course.
Yeah.
you do.
He's doing really well.
It just keeps getting better and better and better.
And then I put together, you know, a kind of a brief timeline. I really wanted to kind of outline something so that people understood, like, when we talk about it, we're not like talking about seeing a shovel out there, you know, in the next 6 months. It will be a long process, particularly because we have to go to audit control, which, you know, that could add, you know, 6 months to a year on the, just the district formation process. And then I'm assuming we wouldn't move ahead with any type of survey, design, whatever, until after we've cleared that hurdle. So
Right.
some of these are all gonna kind of stack, which will push this thing out.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, are they additive? I mean,
Yeah,
PER 6
Some-
months,
I mean,
district formation. 6
you know,
months.
some municipalities roll dice, you know, they go ahead and say, yeah, we think it's gonna get approved regardless, so they'll just kind of move ahead with certain things, and you can kind of, you know, you can stack some of the stuff, but
Well, if we have this meeting on the 20th, there's overwhelming support, let's say. Then we, at our meeting in August, we would have a resolution and do the PER.
Yep.
That would be 6 months out.
right.
At the end of that 6 months, we start the district formation.
Yeah, at the end of the, so once we get the PDR put together and, you know, we can get it out to petition. So that, I'm just saying that process is usually about a 6 month process. When you guys say that, yeah, let's move ahead for us to get it going, get the report done and then get it out to petition, for petition to come back in. And then to do the district resolution, then you send it to audit control and you're gonna wait 6 months to a year for them to come back. Then you can take the next step beyond that.
So really, you're adding, it'll be 1 year, 2 years. 8 months,
Right.
3 years. So 3 years from now, you would start construction, roughly.
Yeah, it could be up
Don't we
to,
have
it
to-
could be up to that much. I guess my one point is that
These
I'm
are
trying to worst case
conservative
scenario, yeah,
Yeah,
it could be that long. So, but that's all. This is meant just to give people an idea so we can know it's not gonna happen. Like we're right around the corner.
don't we have to start anything with ARPA 2025?
And we have till 2026. Technically,
I've already submitted that we're using it for infrastructure on County Road 20. I had to for the first report, so. If you take the ARPA money out, I'm just off the top of my head, I would think that it would be like around $2,400 a year, $2,500 a year ballpark. Greg, the other thing I'm just concerned about is that interest rate. I wonder if we should put a range, because you're.
It's gonna go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those days are 0.5% days or.
Especially by the time we start construction a couple of years from now, by the time we actually do the bond, I think it'll be nearly impossible to get it to.
No, I agree, but I also, just like I was saying, is I think the material prices are gonna plummet, you know, if you're gonna get into 23, so I mean, you may have a higher interest rate, but you might have lower capital costs.
Offsetting cost.
But I wonder if we could explain it as a range to the residents, you know, maybe they're paying up to $200 a month or whatever, you know, I hate to.
2.75 to.
Yeah, I hate that for us to say
$4.50 or something like
$150 and then it comes in $200, $300.
We're going through that with money other right now that every time you change it, you gotta go back.
Yeah.
If it's different than what you told me. You gotta go back and read.
You
Well,
put-
that makes a
you just
difference in people's monthly budgets too. Some people.
You just put, add another note on there, you know, say that rate may vary.
Now, does this change if and or when we get more EDUs in there? I mean, can we add EDUs to this? If something is built between now and then?
So if you add EDUs, but you're gonna be adding infrastructure, so you would have to add EDUs that are super dense
Mhm.
and not spread out, because the more spread out it is, the more cost is, so you can, you know, you're adding numbers to the or the denominator, right, but your numerator is increasing more, so the end result is, you know, you're still paying.
So then it has to be within the boundaries of the,
Right,
I mean, if it was outside, yeah.
if it was within the scope of the infrastructure right now, when you add more EDUs to it,
Then
then,
the cost.
yeah, it would drive
Yeah.
the cost down.
I don't know how much potential there is for that.
I mean, there's a few vacant parcels, 300, but
So it isn't really gonna affect it that much. Probably.
It's not coming in and grabbing any part of the MU road then.
I believe, yeah, I think we're on the edge of it, right, because all the other stuff are like, at least the uptown area is all going drains a different way.
Yeah, the only piece that might be is that farm field that's out, County Road 28 on the right.
Far side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. what you're
So you
talking
could theoretically do it.
Because the one concern that I have, and I just want to bring it up again, is that I'm still hesitant about using all the ARPA money on it, just because of putting it in and benefiting that, you know, that one section. But I also want to make sure that we're not putting this in to benefit somebody coming in down the road and saying, oh, look, there's the sewer that runs by. I'm gonna buy up the field on 28 and I'm gonna throw in X number of houses because I can now do that because there's sewer. So it's constrained enough that we're not doing this for the benefit of somebody to come in. If we want to benefit the homeowners and do this, that's great, fantastic, awesome. But if somebody coming in down the road and saying, oh, look, so here's the infrastructure already in, I want to tap in, so that it's constrained enough that it's not going to open up the door to put tremendous pressure on 28 and give an advantage to whoever might buy that and then tap into this.
I don't know,
So-
that's going to have something like the apartment building.
Well, not in the apartment building, but to Jared's point, that farm field, they could always come in and do a conservation subdivision and plop in 20, 30 houses.
Yeah, right.
No, that would lower the cost. But
It wasn't sketched for that.
It would,
And
but
that's
to
what my
Jared's
question
point, the developer's getting an advantage.
They're getting.
Oh,
a-
sure.
We're
Is there a way that, I mean, as Uptown develops, we create this sewer district? Going to be a sewer district for Uptown, can they be merged in some way that would be to the advantage of these people and, you know, 101?
They would be an extension to those districts, so as an extension to the district, you can charge them a proportionate benefit.
Right.
As part of it, so I think there's ways to make it so that they don't get a free
yeah,
lunch,
that's
you
my
know?
concern.
Yeah.
I
They
think that's,
still
I think
able to
that's,
sign them,
right.
versus, like, for instance, let's say a developer comes in and they want to build 30 houses out there right now.
right,
They have to run the sewer line down County Road 28 and all the residents get the benefit of it.
right.
I would,
Hey, you're in the chicken and the egg phase.
Right, yeah,
I know, and they're.
Like, exactly, I think there's, you know, you still have the need, so I'm like, I think you
Right.
still do the project, I think you you wanna go ahead and, when we build the district, we wanna make sure that, you know, extensions there too. Get proportionate benefit of the, or proportionate share of the capital
Well, and
cost.
that's what I'm trying to
Cause that would
figure
lower
out.
the cost for everybody.
If,
That's-
if somebody were to build that, does that just increase the EDUs? I mean, I'm not sure how that essentially works. Does that split it out then further amongst?
If they're, so if they're an extension to the existing district, and you go from 100 EDUs to 150 EDUs, when you figure out what your annual cost is for water for debt service, you've now divided by 150
Okay.
instead of 100.
So it does
so
add
that-
right in
so
there.
it
That's
So
what my
that
question-
$167,000 payment, you know, gets divided by
Will go
150
down.
instead of 100. So that lowers the debt payment for everybody.
Well, I think that's something we should address when we're talking to the residents too, because that's, I mean, if they have to live in an area that's potentially gonna have more development, there's at least some sort of positive to that, if that's what happens.
The trouble is, it's a huge hypothetical.
Mhm.
Right.
No
Yeah.
idea. Well, that's.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to do to, you just gotta go ahead with the project, you just gotta make sure you charge them fairly if somebody else comes along and they,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, you have to
There's
build
nothing
it.
else you
Build
can
in
do.
safeguards to,
Mhm.
So how would, I'm just throwing it out there, let's just say it comes along. How do you reduce someone's tax bill, it's already got it set in a schedule? If someone were to say, here, we're gonna give you $1 million towards this project, how do you track that to lower someone's
Well, every
debt
year,
service?
every year when we do the budget, we're paying the debt service, right? So we're budgeting based on the number of units for the sewer district, same for SS 800, which is the pretty mobile road one, right? So there's the expenses, and then we have to raise so much revenue to cover the expenses being the tax. So if you've got $1 million that comes in, either can we extinguish the debt service at that point, maybe, I don't know. In which case the total expenses are lower, right? So then you're charging less, so their tax bill is less at that point.
Well, way you do that is if you're gonna call the bond ahead of time.
Yeah, you have to make it well. The bond
Yeah,
count.
sometimes they don't necessarily have to do that either, so.
Yeah, that
But
was subject to whatever's financing.
But again, if you, I don't even know if you could do this, but hypothetically, let's say you made the developer put that $1 million in, it could go into fund balance and help
That's true,
offset
so, okay, yeah.
each year for that special district. There's ways to do it. It's-
Yeah, if we wanna do like a nice big incentive zoning project, you know, there's a possibility.
Yeah, that would be the exact, that'd be the $1 million.
Well, that's the question with putting in the sewer here, obviously it's encouraging development, is that what we
Yeah.
wanna do on County Road 20?
Yeah.
See, in some communities, they have sewer assessments that apply to new projects, and you're assessed after the fact or when the project comes in, so much per unit. And that goes into a fund, similar to what we do with our park and rec fund. They have that for storm sewers, sanitary sewers, highways, and, but I think in New York, that's not legal.
Yeah, you can't
So
charge
you
them
can't sort of
taxes.
you can't catch up to help offset the money you spent in the first place. Shame.
speaking of sewers, I sent you an email about the 21st, there's a meeting on the East Lake Road Sewer District. For the, it's not gonna have a huge impact on us, but it's
Only
being a neighbor.
Yeah.
The, what's the former Canandaigua Shores project.
Sunset.
So there's a meeting at the county with the municipalities involved, and they invited us to send someone as well, just to come up to speed. And just be aware of what's going on, so send it up.
It's my understanding what they're doing is they're bringing the sewer up County Road 18.
Yeah.
To get sewer to Gorham. And they're just coming down. the
Yeah,
hill from
yeah.
Canandaigua Shores.
Yeah, so it's,
Interesting.
I was talking to Tim, and he's like, it's not a huge, we're not directly involved, but just, we could have input. He's like, you could have input if you see some sort of benefit later on down the road. So I sent that up. All right.
That's your,
Did you?
All right.
so 911.
Yeah.
Okay, take care.
Do you need me for anything else, sir?
I'll get pictures of Bob.
Where are you going?
Same places I'm going.
We were invited.
Interested.
Oh, I might sport coat in the car, come on.
All right, oh, yeah.
It's in the car.
Oh.
I like it.
Sounds like fun.
You've done this before, right?
Is there anything
Have fun digging the hole,
No,
Jared.
I'll bring you.
Nice deep
stuff
end,
out
I want
if you
deep
want.
end like 12 feet deep.
12
please.
feet more.
That'd be
We're
great.
pulling down the corner.
Yeah,
It's gonna be an outdoor pool.
awesome.
Yep.
I'm going to ask if Doug was here, I was going to ask him about that whole area, the Y, Motion Junction, the Civic Center, everything that's going on there.
Recreation corner.
Well, North Bloomfield Road
Mhm.
is experiencing more traffic now
Mhm.
than in the past. And when, that YMCA gets completed and we go forward with more stuff at Motion Junction, Happiness House gets further built out. A friend of mine lives on North Bloomfield Road. He said, "It's terrible right now." He says, "From even worse." He said, "What's the city doing there?" Oh, I don't know, but I think you should be asking your elected officials what's going on, because we lived on Buffalo Street back in the '70s, and North Bloomfield Road it's better than Acorn Hill,
Mhm.
and that whole, it's
Mhm.
crappy, really. I don't know what the cities, and the houses are right up, you can't take more property to widen it, or, anyway, that's a city problem, I think, but he was asking about transportation, people are gonna get their bus wise and all those kind of questions we were talking about the other day. Anyway,
I know they
But
talked
yeah,
about
for next
reducing the
week.
speed to at least to Outhouse Road, but the state
Oh,
is
we
not
tried
a
that.
big fan of that, so.
we tried to
Yeah,
do it on
we-
Outhouse Road, and the state said no.
No,
Well, then we tried to do it on County Road 30 too, just to extend it to Outhouse Road at 30 miles an hour. And we were a big no with that too. So
no,
we're gonna have a
it's
crosswalk
county.
there for the trail.
The county will have to do that if they can get it done.
I think just about every time we've asked the state for a reduction in
They say no.
yeah,
So, no.
it's like, when you have a no stamp.
I'm pretty sure they do all of their checks on like February 26th
The
at
speed
like
checks.
9 PM. I'm pretty
Yeah, well, sorry, one in the morning.
Absolutely.
All right, we have everything we need now for, you think, for the 20th, but
Yeah, I can update that and we'll have those two items.
if you shoot it out to us ahead of time, let us.
Mhm.
Any critique?
I think one thing is just make sure they understand that the sewer rent rate is something everybody pays. If
Mhm.
they're just looking at what's costing to have the pipe put in the ground, and provide to them is the 1658.53. If you're gonna pay the 385.
Yeah.
I paid the 385.
That's a set
I
rate.
don't.
That's a set rate.
You know, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because I-
If you're in the sewer.
Wish I did, I'm glad we paid it 385.
So that's, it's part of the annual, but it's really the rent, yeah. Just emphasize that.
Yeah, and like I said, I would just make it clear that this is an annual cost, not a startup cost. So
Right.
it's- I'm always great for checking things for the layman can understand what you're putting. in.
Yep, definitely.
You can always use me.
One of the things that's gonna
That doesn't look that bad at all.
have an impact is that 3 years before you put a shovel in the ground, up to 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I mean,
that's a long time. I think the town board would have to put together, like, we want you to do all 3 seasons at once.
Mhm.
We're not gonna do one, then wait for it, do another. and wait for it.
oh, that's what I'm asking, can we do some of the concurrent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
you can probably take like if we were really looking at it, we thought we were gonna move ahead with it, we could probably get the survey and the design done early. While we're working through like the flow study report and the map plan report and the DER for doing them all kind of concurrently.
So you probably cut this for maybe a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, regulatory right now, I'm saying it's 4 months, but that could probably get cut down just because it's DEC. And it's just a sewer, so it's not like we're building a new plant, which is good. I can't do anything about the comptroller.
Yeah.
So, the sooner we can get through the map plan report and the petition phase,
Mhm.
then, you know where we are with that particular phase.
I only know somebody that carried a petition. Around, so.
Yeah.
How are we informing residents about that meeting? Are we sending a direct mail and doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually
Like you
helped
did, Chuck.
prepare a mailer
Okay.
list for Sarah, so,
Yeah.
we just updated that information, so I think that's.
Me and
what's
Sarah
going
have been talking about the food.
on. Right,
It'd be the same thing we do for people in Cheshire,
Cheshire,
yeah,
yeah.
something like this, in a letter, explaining
We should probably
word
also,
in the meeting and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So,
we should probably also social media push it if possible, so.
yeah, so, yeah, whatever, I mean, whatever you guys wanna do, just set the date.
Yeah, did we actually did we set us, we did the 20th for that?
Yes.
Is that definite now at this point? 'Cause I don't remember the other ones.
There's definitely was the 13th one.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's
It's probably
funny
really
that
good.
we moved it though, yeah,
Like, really good.
because we had some work to do.
Well, no, but like, no, you didn't see my email, it's like, you got a small procedure going on 14th, so,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
What are you doing?
You know, it's the good old rural rooter.
Oh,
event. So
yeah, it's a good
the
time.
13th isn't gonna be a good night.
Okay.
No, I don't think we
We'll
need
have
to
an
know
answer.
any more detail.
It'll be a very quick meeting for you.
Excuse yourself.
Okay, do we have anything on the transfer station, Greg? any
No,
more?
they're working on it though, they're making progress, so they're looking at the scenario Al had. What we still need to kind of figure out is that building too, and just like the accessibility to that building. And like, there's a front of house, I think, assuming there's a back of house, and how we're actually queuing up traffic through that building and where the rollies are coming in and out of, because right now, it just kind of looks like it's a building and everything's offset from it, but it looks like it's just gonna be super inefficient for throwing. And also like entering the building to get onto the scale, because it looks like right now it's more or less a 3-sided building with a front open, but looks like most of the C&D waste comes in off of a trailer, so that's a big sweep to get in. And then, if you're gonna have 2 levels where you're throwing down into a rollie, right, and then that rollie has to come out, so that means there's accessibility either off the ends or, are you turning it and then coming up? Those types of things kind of, I think we have to work through a little bit of programming. So I think that plays in a little bit of the site to understand the ancillary movements and around that barn, not necessarily the people drop off, but how the rest of the operation
The flow,
functions
right.
around it. Well, just for the town guys, like, where's their access, how are we moving these things around? So I think those things have to be kind of vetted out a little bit, so I think we need to go through a little bit of programming on that building.
And you got that flow there.
Yep. So if we go through a little bit of programming, I think we can have a better understanding as to how that necessarily that building fits. And then I think that will dictate a little bit of the site.
Actually, kind of the way it's set up here, actually, I think it works pretty good, but the idea is you're gonna have to have the same thing where you can drop off the edge to it, and you gotta have them spaced far enough apart so you can have at least kind of like 2 vehicles working in there at least 2 at the same time, but
Yeah, so I didn't know
this
if you wanted to go ahead
centralized
and do-
thing here kind of, what do you
Right.
think, Jim? That actually kind of works pretty good, doesn't it?
Out here?
Yeah.
Our transfer station?
No, I'm talking about how they're using just the dumpsters for.
The dumpsters need to be under a building to be enclosed.
Well, yeah,
That has to be done.
yeah.
They can't be out anymore.
So I guess the question would be is like, do you wanna go ahead and have access to both sides of the dumpsters, then
How can you-
elevated and then have
The
the
dump-
rollie in between? Or pull out the end, or turn them 90
Well, you
degrees?
turn 90 degrees, if people are dumping in the short side. though.
Right, exactly.
That's,
So
you
that's
gotta be
what I'm
able to, you
So-
need to have you gotta be able to dump any place along that
Right,
container. So that means they gotta be pulled out in the end,
so
so.
it's almost like you're gonna, for someone who's doing C&D, for the most part, it sounds like you need a drive lane to come into the building to get undercover, and then you'd have a high level and a low level, high level being where they are, a low level being the rolling. Then the rolling can get pulled out to one side.
We're still planning on having residents pick out and dump their own trash,
Oh,
not have
yeah.
staff do
Yeah.
that.
That's tough. you know.
But the dumpster's gotta be under, you can have a cantilever, have the dumpsters covered, and then have the cantilever roof out, just to give the people dumping a little protection, but
Well, I mean,
Yeah, but the problem
Right,
with
but the
that
problem
is
is it's the swing of the trailer and those vehicle movements, that's all. It's-
Yeah, well, that's why we pay you big bucks to figure that out.
You're
Jeez,
gonna
come
have to-
on now.
So I think, that's why I think the bends have to go beyond and then you're gonna drive
Yeah,
in on
yeah.
one side.
Well, right now though, if you come over, when that can C&D bin gets filled up, Tad's out there with the excavator pounding it down.
Yeah.
So you gotta have enough headroom to get in there to mash it down, so you're
Well,
not,
that's the other part too, is that then it's the accessibility, so now it sounds like you want like, maybe you have an overhead door where the rolly rolls out, but maybe you got basically a big ass barn door that you can roll off the side so you can get in.
or you just go buy more containers, because that's be how.
Yeah,
How the roof of the year to get an excavator.
I think that's the better option. We have enough containers. So you
I
can-
know, so I
Yeah.
mean, like, you're probably, I mean, but then you're, by doing so, you're adding more trucking, because now you're not packing down the bit. So,
Can't we take a peek at neighboring communities though? I mean,
Oh,
have you
yeah.
looked
Yeah.
at that? I mean, I know you went to Manchester and
Been all
Victor.
over.
Yeah, so I think Victor is a pretty good, like,
Yeah, I think
recycle or
Victor
trash,
has-
and I think that's a good little setup.
I do, and they have CD there, but they don't allow trailers. So you come in with a pickup truck, that's.
Right,
you
that's
just run
different,
it and-
right, that's a little bit better maneuverability. in that.
You know, I'm worried about
That's-
somebody swinging around and backing up and then going back out again.
And that's the other thing too, is like you're trying to avoid having anyone have a backup movement at all.
Mm.
And then Victor for the
building would be
CD,
giant. Or-
yeah, would, but like,
Right,
they don't, they have an overhead door at the end that they just put the truck to, pull out and put it on.
now if you have multiple rollies, you can basically have it so it's, you know, you could drag the rollie out, you could smash it down, then push the rollie back in.
Mm.
Right,
that really ties up a lot of time. You know, I mean, right now, when Tad's out there doing it, people are still
Sure,
able to
right.
dump stuff in.
But if you have
So if
two
you have to-
rollies.
Oh, yeah, if you got two.
So if you
they're
have one on one
doing
end,
the
one on
same
the other, right, so
Just
you can
close
pull one
for
out,
a
you can
minute, yeah.
pack it while this one's being dumped, push this one back in,
Yeah.
come around, pull that one out, smush that.
Yeah,
you know, you
Right.
might do this, guys, you might have to not take roofing material, you might not be able to take this, you might not be able to bring a
Right.
hot tub.
Well,
You see what
yeah,
I'm
that's
saying? I mean,
that's what I was just
I mean, you
gonna-
might have to hire a dumpster or trash to get
Yeah.
rid of it.
In Victor, do they take furniture like?
They'll take, if you can fit it in the back of the truck, you can throw it in the dumpster. But what I'm getting at is, no one's bringing a trailer.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there's no trailers, period. It's just, you pull up next to the bed, you throw it off, you.
Well, that might be what we have to do.
So in that equation there, you gotta figure out, you know, we're working hard on the queue line for this, somehow you're gonna have to have a little queue area for this too, because otherwise, you know, you would back up this road.
Well, you need a bypass for anyone who's just exiting versus
Yeah.
going to see.
That's why, yeah.
You know, something else, I'd say you, Al, there about that, you know, where the brush pile is in the middle of the moving that road over. I've been bringing a lot of, been doing a lot of trimming and stuff in my house, so I've had a few truckloads of branches and brush. That brush pile out there is huge,
Mm.
putting it in that area. I mean, you're gonna,
Well, it's
I
a
don't
pretty
know
big
how
area,
long-
but that's why you gotta start putting things to scale.
it's really, yeah. I
There's
think,
a lot of space.
And
on
give
How
it.
to
yourself,
measure
and
that
give
out
yourself
there, Greg.
flexibility.
Yeah.
You can
It's
figure it out.
enormous, yeah.
cause it's long, it's wide, I mean, it's.
Wheel it off.
Put a ski slope on it.
Well, that's the landfill out there.
Get a match.
Yes.
Well, it's no easy thing, but that's why, you know, we get good guys working on it, but that's the kind of things you gotta think about, just like you mentioned, where you really need to. Kind of have probably a bypass around there, so if you're not going to here, you can get out.
Right,
That's what I was concerned about is,
yeah, we don't
You
want
can't
anyone,
tie
we don't want
everybody
anyone,
else up.
yeah, backed up for someone throwing anything, you know, and it's any one thing, so like even where that mulch pile is. You're gonna want basically, I'm leaving lane,
Pull off.
right,
Well, and I also, I'm a little concerned about the traffic coming in and combining with the town hall too. I mean, I just this week made the mistake of leaving town hall at 4:30 on a Wednesday, and it took me
Right.
literally 5 minutes to get from the town hall parking lot to the stop sign.
Well, that's a good point.
It's
good line.
That's the other thing is that. You know, that coming in and, you know, where we're talking about entering, you know, the school area.
Mhm.
You know, right now, Saturdays and Sundays, that wouldn't be that big an issue, but Wednesday night, like you say. But we're also talking about maybe expanding the hours
Oh, yeah,
to
Saturday
other
morning.
days.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it's during the daytime, when, you know,
Mm-hmm.
people are working here, but I mean, there aren't a whole lot of ways to get in there.
There's no, yeah, that site has limited access to 5 and 20. And then on top of that, trying to create a long queue lane, talking with Flesh, like we wanted to make sure we could queue about roughly 60 vehicles to the trash and recycle. So, I mean, that's a design parameter that we're looking at. But, they're gonna come in and queue, and then it's gonna take, what you're probably gonna see is then a steady stream of people exiting.
Mhm.
Right.
So as long as we keep the movement so that they're not crisscrossing traffic too much, the only place is gonna be a problem is
Yeah, you
right where they're
can't-
making that left.
You
coming
can't keep
out.
them moving, there's.
But
on the track
what you
lights.
can do is we can always put up temporary stop signs so they have to stop so people come in.
You know, the other
Right?
thing is.
There's ways to mitigate some traffic
Yeah.
stuff with some traffic controls. I know it doesn't necessarily always work. People not everybody
Mm-hmm.
actually follows the traffic control devices. Right, but
Put a roundabout. and-
you can do it, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm like, how far do you want to extend this? I mean, yeah, you can put in sort of.
Well, and
crazy
then again, I'll bring up and I know Jim's not a huge fan of it too, but I know a lot of residents use the back gate.
Yeah,
And I don't know how we can engage that still as a.
It's one thing if they drove through reasonable, like, I think
They
Jerry and I were out there last, I'm getting
Yeah.
fuel there, the back gate was open.
Dude,
just
someone
because we
came
were
by in a
looking.
van, they're
Yeah.
going like 45.
Ripping
I
through it.
was like,
So-
holy Jesus.
For the safety of our employees and our equipment.
I mean, yeah,
We
like,
know it's out.
like the dirt, the
Out.
stones that are just
Oh,
like
yeah,
flying,
flying.
as this guy's zipping right through.
Yeah, people are crazy.
But that's one of our goals, keep out of the compound.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
mean, people are gonna have to bite the bullet somewhere.
Well, They did when we built the highway barn, so.
Al, didn't we talk about rotating that building?
Well,
I just think I'll put
No,
a
that-
square on there just to
I
kind of
know we
say.
talked about
I just.
Yeah, I
put
just
blocks
think you put a
on it.
block.
Yeah, that building has to be rotated and then you
Yeah, I
have
do
to have,
that, I just like.
and then the access to
A
that
box
building is on
figure.
the side.
Yeah.
And your self-contained are at the
Yeah.
side, so. Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Just didn't want to lose track.
I'd be curious, was it Hikers, who was that, Waste Management?
For,
Up in Hikers Waste Management, just renegotiate their.
oh, yeah, no, you're right.
And now
Yeah,
they,
wait a minute.
but in there, they got rid of the free recycling. They're now charging,
Charging for
Where?
recycling?
Manchester?
Charging for co-mingle,
that's something,
we knew it was coming.
yeah, I know, but like, let's hypothetically say the county continues going now. Are they gonna renegotiate the contract that says,
So,
you're no longer gonna get free recycling? So,
Yeah,
That's-
that's what's possible.
well,
I still think we should purchase for $90,000 that thing that makes the construction cubes out of recycling. It's not a joke, it's pretty cool.
we'll let somebody else run that.
Yeah.
Since whoever, whoever is buying it.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just saying, I want nothing to do with it here. We're not gonna sell lots of plastic at the
We
town.
could use them for our own projects. so.
No, I'm good. I'm not gonna try and engineer a piece of plastic to hold something up.
Anything else on the transfer station? Let's move along to CFWG.
All right.
Hoping that Doug would still be here to talk about some of these issues that we're
And Jared.
in, Jared, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
well, the next step is from the report, if you guys did not read it, but we need a tank.
What?
We need a tank,
Mhm.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
definitely need a tank.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be any smaller.
No.
If anything, just this week coming up, we're gonna put our monitors back out again, because Pactiv has 2 new fire pumps. They will run for like an hour someday next week. And they'll be pulling between 45 and 5,000 gallons a minute. So we're gonna put the monitors back out again and see what it does to this.
Yes.
Okay, because not much to do, it's just about
How long is it gonna run?
45 minutes to an hour. So Go ahead.
I would say like the immediate next steps that the town can take is basically what I was kind of saying is we should send a letter of intent to Farmington that says that, you know, we'll be open to moving ahead with the project. We'd like to see this thing get out to bid. And obviously, we would commit to pass the 202B resolution. The current I thought we could just move right to the 202B resolution just to kind of show our support, but the problem is the 202B resolution has a problem maximum cost that's in there. So that's the one that was updated the last time where it went from like whatever 9 to 13. So we kind of have to basically repeat that same cycle of ramrodding this thing through at the very last second because we're gonna open bids. That'll tell us exactly what our total cost is. Then you're gonna do the bond, you know, the rebonding, that 202B, those steps are gonna happen together. So you won't be able to take those steps until that point in time. So it's gonna be, another one of hurry up, kind of moments.
Yeah.
Can we pass a resolution about that letter of intent on
I would
July
think we
18th?
would, yeah.
Do we have time?
That's, yeah, oh,
I think that will be
We haven't
just,
put
I
it-
don't think you need a resolution. That could just be a motion
Yeah.
to direct Jared to write, to draft or have Doug draft it for Jared, whatever.
We could do that
there's
even
plenty
in
of
our,
time.
we
Yeah.
didn't do that in our executive session.
Well, say maybe do it at your,
Finance committee meeting.
no, well, maybe there, like, because if we're going to do a resolution, we gotta have. it
Yeah,
there
yeah,
this
yeah.
Monday.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, say they're due, but we could probably put it in on Monday.
We entertain resolutions that are drafted today.
The day of, yeah,
Understood.
Yes, absolutely, we have to.
yeah, let's get that in the
Get it
next.
moving.
Yeah. So I think that's really what kind of starts the wheel to move, I think, for Farmington to go ahead and direct MRB to go ahead, yeah, let's put this thing back out to bid. We're gonna have to make some changes to how we bid it. I think some things we're gonna wanna change anyways, because I think it's gonna be more cost effective. But, we have to kind of repackage what's out there. Just can't do the same thing twice.
Well, we've done the water main work on Talon Road.
Yeah,
that's
so-
useful. That's-
Yeah, some
that's a
parts of it can
change.
be pulled out, but like I was saying before, I think I would do is probably bid out the pipeline work a week in advance of the tank work.
Mm.
Because that way the tank guys could contact the low bidder for the pipeline work, which they couldn't do last time because we bid them out at the same time.
Mm.
So what happened, the tank guys then were using like these little mom and pop site guys, and they just gave like crazy numbers. Whereas I think the GCs for the pipeline would probably be able to offer a much more competitive number anyways. So that's one part of it. The next step, one of the things that got here is the Genetco easement. You go on to Encore, you pull open the latest subdivision map for that, like the easement's on there with a Lyburn page, so those easements are filed.
Mhm.
You can't get a Lyburn page without those easements being filed.
Yeah, so Dave is saying, you're not crossing my property. Now, I don't know if he's gonna lay down in front of an excavator or something.
Right, so one of the things we could maybe show to help Dave and really the towns. We basically had a maintenance gravel road going across that was actually gonna be the trail base, but we can kind of slide it over and expand it and we'll just make it the road base.
Well, he's looking for intent, he's looking for commitment from the town
To build
to do something, so.
I'm telling you what I can
Oh, yeah,
calculate.
well, no, I-
There's that's the
well,
part
all
of
you
the
gotta
point
do is
you
get
guys
him to
do.
say, that's a good idea, Greg, let's do that.
Right,
And then, then he's not. Yeah, I just, I'm not a lawyer, even though it's filed and all that, can he still object somehow? Get some kind of injunction, say, no, you're not crossing that property. If he wanted to,
well, I'm pretty sure he could probably try to put some legal hoops for us to jump through and delay things if he really wanted to do that, but.
that's why the conversation with him
Yeah.
should be, what can we do to show you that
Right.
we're gonna do this?
Well, I
What
think-
you said,
I think their intent is to build a
oh,
reserve.
well, it's,
Well, I think we
well.
thought
it's
maybe
paid
we
for,
put in
but-
a trail, per se trail, really wide trail.
Right.
So
He wants to.
There still has to be a trail there.
Yeah,
You can't
I mean,
just be the-
it'd be a trail that's 36 feet wide, so.
He
Trail
wants
for
to
cars.
develop that.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's just,
It's a multimodal
I mean, that's
transportation.
something to do with.
Bike lanes and everything, so.
It can help facilitate his development of that lot, because I
Well,
think he
that's
wanted to
the
use
No,
that,
it's the
That's
one.
the
he
whole
wanted to
reason.
use that as a spine road to
That's the
go
whole
from.
point.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's claiming that it helps everybody because takes, you know, you can go up Brickyard Road to Purdy and then on up to Town Line Road where there's a light on 332. But I think it helps him more.
And
Yeah.
Mobile Road connected to it.
Right,
So
and he's
I
getting
mean,
a,
it's-
and he's getting a free water main that would cost him a fortune to put in.
Right.
So,
That's probably why he signed off for the easement in the first place, but maybe he forgot.
Right.
I mean, there are positives to it in that the Purdy Road folks
How
will
long
have
ago
a
was
safe
the,
way to cross. it.
Recorded. easement?
Mm,
Years ago?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, no, I don't think it's that, maybe like
Okay.
18 months to 2 years, maybe.
Just had a short term.
Well,
I'm just saying, like, the
Yeah.
last subdivision map that Rocket prepared for Janeco, it has the Wyvern page for that easement on there.
Yeah, I remember.
So it was
in-
filed
in the
before
flavor,
they
the way
did
it's to
that.
be shown.
Right.
As part of Mobile Road. And Mobile came down and connected to it.
Right.
it's just, somebody needs to talk to Jared, Doug, those guys talk to him and say, here's what we're thinking about doing, here's what we'll do. Just don't stand in the way, you know, and you're gonna get what you want in the end.
Right.
So, I mean, he's talking about timing and cost, and one of the primary issues early on, was who pays for the road,
Right.
right,
you know? Is that all on us? That's $1 million anyway.
oh, yeah.
It's what more now,
Right.
1.5 to 2 now, but
No, gas prices are going down, that's what Greg said.
Yeah, well,
Oil
23.
we don't build it until 24, but it's
Right.
$25 a barrel, that's.
Right.
guaranteed. You and your
Greg
brothers.
said.
That's a great idea, like, go ahead, we'll just say, we'll build a road once oil gets below $60 a barrel.
So, this letter, go back to the
And
original
now,
letter of intent.
Yep.
We get that on our agenda, we say, okay, send a letter of intent.
so it's a
Good
letter of
part of intent.
intent that we're moving towards a 202B, is that what it is?
Well, the
It's our intent to be committed to the project.
project is, as outlined, I don't,
Right.
they can figure out the verbiage for that, but. So we do that, and then you start the rebidding.
Yeah, then we would basically have I need Farmington to say, yes, go, put this project out the bid again, which means we'd have to, you know, we have about 30 days or so probably to tweak what's there and get it ready to go out to bid, and then you'll have probably another 30-day period for bidding. And then, you know, right after that 30-day period, once we have open bids, we'll know what the costs are, then we'll be racing back to go ahead and get the 202B done, right, and the bond resolution.
And honestly, depending on what happens with this County Road 28 meeting, that's another ARPA potential use too. I know Farmington's planning on using all their ARPA funds pretty much. for it.
The IMA update, when we call, I'm saying this, but I believe we gotta do something for the end of the year with Farmington, is how it's written, or it renews automatically.
What's the intermunicipal agreement on the Farmington Water District or
And
something?
then, yeah, the whole thing, because it's all, the way it's being administered now, it's strictly Farmington.
Right.
We're just kind of along for the ride. But, I mean, yeah, that's gotta be hammered out. I know that, Nadler's been involved in that, but we've never moved forward with it at all, so.
There's that, and I know there's been discussion amongst people that, do we wanna have
Right.
our own, do we wanna control that? So that people in the town of Kennebec will call it town of Kennebec.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's something
Having to
else.
send our residents, our businesses that wanna look here to Farmington, to find out what they have to do.
Right.
It's
So-
an issue, you know.
If we're thinking of that, then
That's gotta be in the agreement.
just have an agreement, understand what it is that
Yeah.
we're fixing and doing for our, I'll say, new district. Cost wise, who's responsible for the master meters, updating meters? Who's, how are they gonna collect, so we then going to collect the money in the O and M, be sent to us? Or is it still, I don't know the right term here, but is it still Canada Farmington Water District, but we maintain our town? Like, is there going to be a actual separation? or-
Yeah, this Canada Farmington Town Line Road gonna be a rural divider. We
Right.
take care of everything south, they take care of everything north.
Right,
Yeah, those questions need to be asked and answered and put into that agreement.
Right.
The only problem is if we do that now, then one of the things that's south is this giant water tower.
Well,
So,
I think maybe, well, yeah, I'm just only assuming that maybe you could speak with Farmington and say, look, we want to rewrite this IMA, but, you know, have a temporary IMA agreement until we can, so it doesn't go into effect after the first 2 years.
Yeah, but you could also word it such that we'll take care of maintenance on our side of the lake, we'll take care of maintenance on your side, including the water tower. We'll take care of what's in the ground, pipe-wise, if we have to replace the County Road 8, something has to be done, or wherever. We'll do the maintenance there, you do it up, I mean, all those things need to be hashed out somehow. You know, everyone has to agree.
Right, and then are we selling water to Farmington then at the master meters or not? Are we taking over all the meters in our district? You know, those types of things. And we also have that 60-inch transmission main that starts by Tops and goes on Emerson Road 28 that feeds Manchester.
Yeah,
I know it's in our town, but like, are we going to then take responsibility for it? And then if we do, are we putting, again, another meter in to monitor in our town? So,
A lot of those questions need to be. Bart, I would think that your comments and your feelings would be very important to know exactly what you feel and what you'd like to see. The dream one is going to wind up with the work out there. So.
right,
well, I'd also be interested to see how we're doing it with Canada Consolidated, because obviously this all city water is coming through the town. I mean, it's traveling.
I'm sorry, I'm not following you.
I'm saying, how is that working with the city and the Canada Consolidated Water District, right? Because they're got their plant that's within the town of Canandaigua on city property. But obviously their water is flowing through the town, various things too, but. So I'm just wondering how we do it with that now.
Oh, master meters.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we do it now. Everything is a
We
master
should be
meter.
mimicking the same thing. that we do.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just like the same way we sell the Spoonfield through master meters, same the Hopewell, same the Bristol, same the Gorham.
Yeah.
We all have master meters that we sell to those towns.
So we have to have it pretty similar, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I wasn't picking up what you're putting down, I was like, wasn't sure what you meant by different. Nothing's really changed, that's why you're asking. Yeah, you know, we have a lot of commercial meters at the north end of town. You know, there's plenty. I don't know how the town of Farmington Water would feel about losing the assessed value for their district. I mean, that could be a very sticky point.
It definitely will be when you look at the debt payment of the tank, that's for sure.
Exactly, that's what I'm.
So I mean, you might have to somehow write that in as part of your IMA that the current scenario for that debt payment remains in effect until the debt's retired. Something along those lines, but then, you know, new debt would be a different story or something along those lines. I don't know.
Yeah, because basically. Hear me out, like, so if we were to say, stop at Town Line Road, then that's consolidated, then we would just, then we would be able to take with all of that. And
Right,
all we're doing is speaking farm
right,
with water, and they're just buying it.
Right.
Which might be a better deal for them.
yeah, right, because I think right now they're paying for 80% of the debt based off their assessment. Right,
Yeah, it's 80-20.
So,
And they were putting all their ARPA funds into it too, I know.
Yeah, it's
Something you're
it's
talking
just something
about.
along those lines, or a big chunk of it, if not all of it.
So that's, now, these are all things that go through my mind, so.
Well, running the numbers is the way they've been done. Yeah, our ARPA money going forward just doesn't really have much of an impact at all on the
No,
O&M costs. I mean, we're going to
For
what,
what?
85 cents?
For
Thousand,
yeah, it was basically a 15-cent swing going from, what, 9 million to 13 million.
yeah. But putting our ARPA money in isn't really gonna make much of a dent in that.
Right, you might lower, 3 cents, 4 cents.
Right, not even that much.
Right.
I mean, they had more ARPA money than we did, so
Right, sure.
quite a bit more, for the 3 or 4 million.
It was like 3 something.
So,
Well, there's still a lot of questions to be
well, we
answered
can,
in that area.
in that area, yeah. So,
But we gotta get the thing rolling with that letter of intent. So.
We need to get the letter of intent going, and we need to get a bid, because we need something under contract to go against the IMG grant, so we can start taking the money from the state.
right,
I just,
We don't wanna let that go.
I just don't want Farmington to be like trapped or something, like, here, we're gonna build this giant thing and now we're dividing, I mean, I wanna make sure that this is something that we're working on together with them, so that
Well,
both townships are
That is gonna
benefiting.
be involved in all
Yeah.
the agreements. Make sure that they're legal, fair, and consistent. One of the things that came out of that Uptown Water study we did was the need to replace some lines on County Road 8.
Yeah,
Well, this new grant that's coming out from the state. Is there something there that we should be doing? You asked that question. and
well,
You
it's,
guys were talking by email.
right, so there's, all right, so the, basically what they're doing is they're pumping some of the federal money into the WIA program, which is sort of what I kind of said about a year ago. When we first started talking about this infrastructure bill, I was like, that's probably how that would go out. So anyways, each municipality can now submit for a WIA grant in successive years, right? So absolutely, I think Canandaigua Farmington Water should be looking at least in its immediacy right now for how it's played out. They should be looking for a WIA grant. You guys should be looking for a WIA grant to replace your ACP. They should be looking for a WIA grant to replace their cast iron. They'd be slam dunk WIA grants because you're just replacing aging infrastructure. And that's exactly what they want the money to be used for, so. But it's a matter of getting, the Farmington crew in on the idea of, instead of trying to just budget for and do these things in little tiny chunks, just like that County Road 8, they're gonna basically, this hasn't gone anywhere beyond just talk around the table, so it's not like they've asked for proposal or anything like that, so I don't really have much to go on, but their idea is to design it, get it all approved, and then do what they did on Norfolk, where they do a little piece, little piece, little piece, little piece, right? So, but I still think with a WIA grant, because you get 60% paid for it by grant dollars, like, why would you not try to do more? I mean, it fiscally makes sense to go ahead and do a bigger project to get more of it paid for. Not with your dollars, somebody else's dollars.
And all the time, because I'm getting the grant.
And then you go ahead and you get a big chunk done, each year.
Is there any issue though? I mean, they're using the WIA money that they have already for this.
They're using
Water project.
ING, right? But now they can, what I don't know is if you can apply for a new grant while you're still riding on an existing
Well,
grant.
that's yeah.
That I don't know, but I do know that like now, it used to be you had to wait 5 years before you could reapply. They took that out, so now you can apply each year.
Yeah.
But I think there could potentially be something in there that we might have to, be done with the other project before we start a new project. That I don't know. But you're done with your water project. That's why I was saying we could do a WIA for the ACP. And then obviously now potentially accelerating the tank project might play well into getting another WIA grant to do water main replacement as soon as we get that thing done. I don't know. I don't know if we have to do that, but that's something we can check with the grant group.
About looking at Cheshire again for moving water lines. Is that-
certainly, again,
Yeah.
that's aging infrastructure. We
Right.
can, start at Rock Oak Hill and go right down Wells Curtis Road,
Right.
so.
That's something that we talked about for years. I mean,
There's a number of different places.
Oh, well, yeah.
So there's like, I mean, there's all that high pressure line, you know, the higher pressure ACP, right, line that we have, I mean, that can be replaced. Some of the stuff on Cooley, 520, down on Wells Curtis, you know, redoing that vault, and
Cause that's.
there's a bunch of stuff that's right there. I mean, we could, I'm
Package it
certain
all.
we could package it up and get something close to a $5 million job. Pretty sure that's something we could probably easily do. Yeah, the way-
To be honest, with you,
Well,
it's a lot of money, but
it's
it's
5
easy to
million to
do.
do all, every inch of the just ACP.
Right,
The
yeah,
town.
that's the
That's
same.
5 million right there.
You know, that's just the start. I mean,
Right.
all that stuff that's on all those private drives.
Right.
I mean,
Well, how do we proceed with this then? What you got? You're,
well, it'd be a PR.
The PRs, to do a WIA application, you have to complete the PR, you have to complete seeker, and you have to have a bond resolution and your smart growth. Those are the 4 items from previous grant guidances that I'm aware of. I haven't looked at the new grant guidance to see if that's the case, but they're probably only gonna add to that list. They're not gonna subtract from that list. So you gotta get through all those items first. So PER, seeker, bond
And you've
resolution.
got 70 days to do it.
Yeah, right now, yeah, it's
Sure,
it's
that's
impossible to do it
June,
for this,
September.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I was like, there's no way to get it done in that kind of
Terry loves special needs.
time.
We had 4
just
for the
mentioned-
Livingston Water Project in 3 weeks.
yeah, that's, but that's, is that gonna be every year, or is that just, this is a one shot?
Well, you would do it this, you know, for this funding cycle, and then, again, I don't know if you can apply and have 2 WIA grants active at the same time or not, that's a question for grant group. But if you could, then yeah, you would, you know, I would say that, you know, someone would be looking at trying to package up, try to do, if there's another 5 million to do, we package up, and do it again, but I mean, you're gonna have $5 million a note at some point with the 2 projects out, but you'll have $10 million worth of infrastructure taken care of. That's not a bad, it's not a bad exchange.
Other than 10, how much is how much comes from WIA, from the
40% is
Funding.
that.
60%
60?
up to capped at 3 million, so it's like 5 million. I think caps you at, that gets you to 3 million, and then the remainder is grants. So
It starts at 5 million, they have to be 5 million and up.
no, you can go for less, but it's like, you know,
Why?
the city did a WIA grant, and they only used like, I don't know, it was like maybe $500,000. I was like, why? Like, why even go, I'm like, you
Because
have,
you gotta fund
you
that
have a
30%.
million other, well, I know, but
Mhm.
maximize the grant.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
60%. There isn't another grant out there that does infrastructure like this, that you're getting more than half. You switch over to the wastewater side, they only give you 25%. That's, I mean, it's nothing.
So out of 5 million, you get 3, you got to come up with 2.
Yeah,
Right, 2
So if you do
goes
10
into
million, you're out 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Right?
that's still
Well,
4
you got
million
10
you
million
gotta
done.
Yeah.
have somewhere.
that you're adding into,
Right,
Mhm.
you know, everybody's
yeah.
cost goes up, but.
Everybody's cost goes up, but the more new water main you have, the less maintenance you have.
Oh, yeah,
on-
yeah.
on,
And that should
hard
last,
to-
you know, with.
it's another 75-year
you know,
life
yeah.
expectancy. you know.
More time than we have to worry about.
Yes.
Some of us maybe.
Unless they gotta do pill.
Right.
The 3 of us around the table. won't have any certain problems.
I don't think I'll be whole, I don't think I'll be here at 125.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I
they'll-
saw a TV ad last night that said the first person to live to 150 years old has already been born.
Yep.
According to some group, oh,
Oh, that's crazy.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, they had that one lady from China, she was like 128 years old or something.
Oh,
I mean, that's nutty.
Well,
120,
sure,
but like, you think about it, like, she was born in the 1800s.
yep.
Well, all
That's
right,
nuts.
so I guess we're pounding this into the ground, but it would be good to look at what what areas should we look at?
Well, that's part of the electro scan, is part of it, but then, like,
Well-
we have the information in the water master plan,
Right.
which, you know, Jim's probably right, we're probably getting close to the time when we need to probably relook at updating the water
That was
master
in
plan.
2017, that,
Yeah, or probably getting close to want to
So-
update that document at some point in time, but, you know, probably lesser priority. I would definitely be chasing the funding dollars while the funding's hot.
So there's no chance we can do it this year though.
No, I can't commit to getting a PER done in that kind of time frame. I mean, you'd be right up against it just to get seeker done. Seeker's like 60 days, so.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
what-
September 20 something.
What time do we have
September,
to,
yeah, it was September
September
9th.
I wanna say.
Yeah, it was early.
Yeah, it was
so what time do we have to start this next year to get it done? 'Cause I
Well,
guess we'll
that's
need
what I would
to
say
figure
is like plan on it and let's get it started, maybe over the winter if we can.
Right,
out. So that's,
That would be the way to go.
instead of hanging out again until July and being like, oh, we should have done
Well,
that.
I mean, honestly,
they just go.
They
just changed it,
They
yeah.
just sent it out yesterday.
Oh,
Right.
really?
Yeah, they said, hey, we got money,
Yeah.
and you gotta have it by September 9th.
Right,
But they give you an impassable date.
Right.
right.
So do they really want to get the money out?
We, no,
Well,
it's still-
They're targeting projects that are more
Right,
shovel
projects,
ready,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because again, they wanna tie that money to something that's gonna happen soon, so you
Mhm.
immediately show the benefit of the money going
And
out.
there may be a.
Oh,
to the
that's
farmers
right.
market, if this was, they had something that had all the stuff done, but it's sitting there,
Right, I
throw it in.
mean, and
We
Farmington,
could do
Farmington
the
probably
old
has
plan
at
for
least
the,
5
for
million
the water tower, that's
in
right.
replacement of the cast iron lines.
But they don't have anything ready to go on it, do
No, that-
they? So I mean.
I mean,
that's gonna-
yeah, they're gonna miss the window as well, I think.
Well, so let's plan this to be ready to go in May or something.
Right,
Then when they show
Yeah,
up
you
waving
work
their
on-
money flag, we can be
Or
like.
the
"Woo,
winter,
woo."
yeah, over the winter would be the ideal time to work on it.
Well, maybe next year it'll come out earlier, what the rules, they may change rules. Too.
Well, the funding cycle got glitched because of the COVID, right? So like in 2020, they canceled it. 2021, it came out super late. Like the guidance came out and those applications weren't due until I think like November, which was really strange. Because normally the awards were happening in November, December. So the awards didn't come out until February. And now this cycle is kind of, I'm just saying, it's just,
Screw it.
it's hard to really, you can't really plan on it because it seems to be like a moving window. It's not like the CFA where, the CFA is coming out in July.
Right,
We just have something ready so that we
Right.
can move with it when they show
But
up.
like I said, we go through next year, we get through the PER, we'll get done with the PER, then we get through seeker, bond resolution, and then we'll be sitting, waiting to jump on a WIA application.
It's being administered through the state, or is it federal to local? It's not federal, state to local, it's.
I think it's federal, no, it's federal, because the federal money, the bipartisan infrastructure, that's
Right.
federal, that came
That-
into the
yep.
states. The state is choosing to disseminate that money through the WIA program.
Okay. there's
So to
one.
go from, to go from federal to local, I don't believe rural development ended up with a large share of the money.
Mhm.
And the other part is, it doesn't help us because we can't use our security.
Right, now.
yeah, it hurts.
They
So
haven't,
then-
they haven't updated any of their rules from, 20 years ago.
Right.
So the state that slowed it up. Yeah, okay, they probably had notification from the federal government, but they were slow in
Mhm.
getting the guidelines out.
Well, no, when these things come down to the state has to figure out how to funnel the money, right?
Right,
So then every time something comes out, there's new program requirements. So they have to make sure that they're crossing their Ts and dotting their Is the same way, so.
And they have that personnel to administer, that's the other thing, they may not have people.
I don't think the state has the people that
No.
administer. Still work great.
Way
I don't think they have the people though, because everything is insanely slow trying to go through those guys.
Way understaffed in every state is here right now. so.
I spent an hour on hold yesterday with RGE to report a street light,
I'm serious.
serious.
Oh,
What
yeah.
was it?
I needed street light. to be
You were on hold
energized
on your
again.
phone?
I was on hold for an hour with RGE, just to tell them to re-energize the street light.
They don't give you like a.
No,
Online?
they'll say, no, you get to leave a number, we'll call you back.
You have a backdoor number?
All right,
No, not anymore.
so
That's terrible.
Well, Bush,
not on your agenda, but Quail Bush,
Oh,
this is a
yeah.
draft set of plans,
Oh, great.
mark them up, if there's any changes you want on here.
I think you and I have a
Yeah.
pretty understanding of what
Yeah,
we wanna do to eliminate
We
flush
dropped-
hydrants.
Yeah, we dropped the
leak system.
hydrant, so you got the loops in here, so I think we're, for the most part, everything's kind of good through here.
So as most of you know, we have this odd 2-inch line that has problems. And
No,
so we're working on no easements and stuff. There was asked to, connect to a, let's say, 4-inch line, but they want blow offs. Or I didn't want blow offs, because I don't know where to blow it off and somebody's yard or mulch that or stuff like that. So I'm proposing to loop it to the existing 8-inch all the way around it, and then tap out that so that the system's looped. I'm using 4-inch because I didn't want to, because I already have fire hydrants that are close enough, there's no reason to add more fire hydrants. There's no reason to add more cost.
Right.
So that is what we're proposing to do now.
And the owners have bid for it? The owner of Quail Bush?
No,
Who is
that'd be
paying
Town
for
of
it?
Canada.
We're paying for it?
Oh, yeah,
What's it cost?
I have no idea.
Expensive.
The town or the consolidated one?
Consolidated.
I don't know if it's, I mean, yeah.
We're gonna have a lot of restoration,
Yeah, the restoration side's.
a
gonna be
lot of
fun.
restoration.
Going through people's yards?
Yeah, all the HOA lands. Mhm.
I mean, you could take this and go in the road and avoid the landscaping and grass, but
Then you gotta replace the roadway.
I still have to connect to all the curb stops.
yeah, you still have to get.
I still have to get all the curb stops, Terry, and they're in the driveway.
So are you getting easements over these lines?
That's a discussion Chris Daller's been having with the HOA's attorney. I don't know where it is at this point. I do know Jared took a plan somewhere this last week. He was talking to somebody here, I don't know which person at the HOA. to,
Might
you know,
be, yeah, you might be easier getting a blanket ingress egress on the HOA land
You
versus
gotta maintain the place.
versus having
Put it
filed
down.
easements strictly to certain areas.
So,
And they're not a special district.
no,
Part of it's Canada, so.
there's no debt service on it, so they're probably consolidated.
You'd be paying for it that way.
No, I know. So you, we ever get through with yours.
These are the new units.
Yeah, those are the units going
Yeah,
over there.
correct.
So, yeah. So,
So we'll need to go ahead and get this off to DOH for the 348 form.
right,
We'll probably have to pass a seeker resolution, but I think it's type 2 because we're just replacing, say it's maintenance, we're replacing existing infrastructure. So it'll be type 2. And then I'll have like a little mini hydraulic memo that I'll probably have to put together for the Department of Health, and then I'll have to do a certification. But I think the plans are almost ready to go off to the Department of Health now.
What is this?
this is already pre-existing,
Oh,
so they are gonna be building.
I know, I
shop.
drove up and.
Yeah, Christine.
Yeah. So this, everything you see here is already existing.
So the only part that you're asking me to certify then is basically what, just that 8-inch legs.
Initially.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm gonna write up a certification. I can't, make a certification that says I witnessed and, everything's beautiful, but I can say that it was installed and it's been in operation for a period of time and it has not presented maintenance problems for the municipality, so therefore I think it's good to go.
Which was never done in 1986.
Been hard for me to write the certification on it. It's like, 5th grade, 6th grade.
Probably look good to you. then.
Check and see if Silvernail screwed up too. They built those two at the same time.
So anyways, I want to leave this here. I just want to make sure everyone knows, because we just jumped on this and I built a general number, so.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know what the price of 4-inch or 4-inch valve or any of that stuff is. I haven't even passed. So. And I think,
And then the fun part would be seeing whether or not they actually are making it.
yes.
You might end up switching to 6 just because you might not be able to
Yeah,
get
Just
fun.
it.
because you can get it. Hey, I had a conversation yesterday down with RGE about letting us do just black HDPE 5-inch for electric.
No,
No, because it's months before you see that pipe.
yeah,
So.
So you got what you needed across German Brothers for Elmwood Trail?
well, we've conditioned it, so, and the easements are prepared, I just don't know if the brothers have signed it.
I don't know,
If-
I haven't heard. it.
But I mean, they're gonna have to sign it to get their subdivision, so that's where the push is gonna come.
So they're selling part of that to.
They're subdividing a chunk off, yeah.
Yeah, to
Right.
Peter Group, their group.
Yeah. they
Yeah, he's
are.
gotta be involved because GW is involved.
That
George Washington.
wants to do all his maintenance up there, move everything off.
Oh, 16, yeah. Mhm.
That would help.
That'd be nice.
Well, that's all I got. Then we'll wanna add the gateway sign project onto our list. I'll try to see if I can't get Ed Perone down
Oh,
here.
you mean,
to kinda kick that
These.
project off. Yeah, the gateway signs, yeah.
surveys and.
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah.
go out and, you know, they're gonna go check for line of sight, and prepare some simple site plans.
Hmm.
Those gateway signs.
They on 332?
All over the place.
I think, yeah, it was like 21.
See the new billboard.
Should be interesting to see who's,
Yeah.
who's gonna install the sign.
Move up, yeah.
No, they didn't let him up.
I'm just curious if they're gonna let you put them in where you want them.
Oh, well, we assume that we're gonna probably have to be out of the right of way on the state roads and county roads, although I think the one on 332. I think is gonna have to be, at least the location of it is gonna have to be in the right of way, there's no way, because it just comes up too fast, so I think that's gonna have to be. And otherwise you won't see the sign, because it'll be up in the air.
Tough.
Is that something you're looking for that to be on?
I would put it on our agenda so we can look at it,
Yeah.
and what we could do is I can have Ed Perone come to the next meeting, because he's the one
Okay.
gonna do the work, so.
Talking about this meeting, not our town board meeting. You're
Not a
looking
town
for
board
anything.
meeting, yeah, it's this meeting.
That meeting is August 5th.
That's the first Friday of the first
Alright,
week.
yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta
that'd be
get
awesome.
running. I gotta
Okay.
head north.
How far north you going?
Maybe it would.
I gotta meet the wife at the
Oh.
through exit and then I'm driving all the way.
Okay, man.
August 5th. you're right.
Hey, have a safe trip.
Yeah. We gotta drive out, play soccer and then drive home.
You playing
It's like-
soccer, have fun?
Yeah, no, definitely.
A friend of mine from the diner, down there,
We gotta stop recording.
he's in Italy now because his grandson is playing in soccer match in Italy.
Yep, oh, I believe it, yeah.